Hello, everyone, and greetings. Thank you for tuning in to a Quantum Leap Year. I am Tim Lee. Thank you so much. Friends, this is indeed a beautiful journey, and I don't know if you're going on one yourself, but I think that Quantum Leap years are very spiritual in nature. Quantum leap year, again, just for those who are getting in on the tail end, is when you're not moving from point A to B or from point B to C, but you're moving from point A to G or from A to Z or from A to BBB. You see what I'm saying? You're making a significant and spontaneous jump based on applying the truths that you have learned and the secrets in life you have heard about. So instead of listening and teaching and learning, we are doing. Okay, so in this week of doing, in this week of charting, watching for patterns and things like that, I'm struggling with a few things, and I want to kind of just teach through my struggle. There's a concept that I'm toying with, and again, it may be real somewhere or in some other form, but I'm calling it flawed perfection. Flawed perfection. And I've been really hard on myself as I'm trying to be consistent in certain things and seeing that there's inconsistency, and then knowing that there is perfection even in my imperfection, right? Or there's perfection or perfectness even in my flaws. So I'm gonna talk about that a bit. Then uh, you have the thing that I have written down here of the play between discipline, motivation, and inspiration. And I'm going to talk about how all this is relating to me and where I'm getting. And then finally, the idea of letting go. So, again, um, let me start with the thing in the middle: discipline, motivation, and inspiration. For me, inspiration is everything. Inspiration is everything because for me, again, it comes from the source. It is the invisible. Inspiration comes from above. It is the raindrop that falls upon you, your consciousness, your thinking, and then it causes, in a sense, the motivation and becomes fuel for motivation, which helps you to move forward. Inspiration helps you light up. Motivation helps you move forward, and motivation, the source, in a sense, comes from around you, right? You can be motivated by other people and seeing their success. You can be motivated by seeing other people's poverty and or lack or failure. But motivation mainly comes from around. You can be motivated by nature or things like that. Inspiration comes from above, motivation comes from around, and discipline comes from within. And that's what I've been struggling with. So discipline is, either doing something you don't want to do for a greater good or not doing something you want to do for some sort of greater good. This is the kind of the way I, play with those words. So in me looking at this quantum leap year that I am having, this journey that I am on, and some of the consistencies that I want to add to my life, just like a New Year's resolution when I started this. I said I'm going to add some things and I'm going to subtract some things. And in this addition and subtraction, there has been inconsistency and relapse and backsliding, as people say. You see what I'm saying? And I see that as a lack of discipline. And I'm very, very, very hard on myself. And so to get out of this being hard on myself, I was present to the idea of where you are is perfect. You know what I'm saying? In you not meditating at least 2 or 3 times a day. Maybe you just meditated one. It's okay being there. You see what I'm saying? In speaking, let's say the affirmations or whatever, you don't do it with as much feeling, and emotion. Well, you see what I'm saying? So I'm saying that I'm noticing discipline as a problem that I have noticed for a while, and having the critical nature that I have, I'm really, 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 really hard on myself, and it's not good because the words that you say to yourself impact you more in a real sense than the words that other people say to you, right? So our own kind of you know, talking to self, or our own kind of dialogue that we have in our minds, causes us to either be in this place of doubt, insecurity, uncertainty. You know what I'm saying? And when you have all those things, you don't have faith, and you don't have confidence, and you don't have the necessary invisibles to have the correct formula for the magic, and for the miracle, and for the quantum leap. You see? Hope I'm saying something. I hope I'm saying something. So, what lesson I learned in all of this toying with myself is letting go. The lesson I learned this week for me is letting go. Now, I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that I have to recognize and then now apply. This is what we're talking about as it relates to the quantum leap year. I'm not just doing this to teach and pretend like I know something. No, I need to apply this principle of letting go and how it applies in the different components of my life. Now, there are going to be times when it's more important to hold on than to let go. And life teaches you that kind of discernment, right? So just because I'm learning a lesson that, yeah, I'm perfectly flawed, or my flaws are still perfect, or the concept even that everything worketh together for the good for them that love the Lord and who are called according to His purpose. That doesn't mean I can go willy-nilly and do any and everything. There's still this interplay of self and self-governance. So here's another kind of thought and idea that goes along with this. When we let go, that is the we we're talking about, or I'm talking about, is your conscious self, your ego self, right? The aware self, the observing self. I might be trying to do too much, and I didn't study psychology. So if I'm mixing some of these terms, I'm charged to my not having studied psychology formally. Okay. When you let go, you let other selves, and you give other selves permission to govern, right? So you have a higher self. You also have an inner self, right? And you have different components of your brain. And I mentioned this in a Facebook Live that I recently did on Facebook, which is you have your brain here, the brain that's in your gut, and then the mind that's in your heart, right? So you have a consciousness, you have an emotional seat and center, and then you have this this intuition, these other senses that are that we really don't really tap into. And sometimes when we tap into all these, sometimes when we tap into all these other parts of ourselves, we see that they are more connected to some sort of truth and higher, purer principle than we are in our consciousness. And when we let go, that is what reigns, and that is what holds the reins. So I think that might be sufficient. And let me see if I want to summarize it just in a moment. And that summary is let go. And when we let go, we open ourselves to the inner and deeper and higher selves that we connect to in spiritual practices. So meditation and prayer is connecting to that invisible space, that invisible seat of who we are, that core and that essence. Okay. So I'm learning to let go, and it's a balance. It's not an either or. It is a sometimes and. I'm trying to be more gentle with myself, and that gentleness is giving myself permission to make a mistake and to still be okay with it, right? And then that gentleness hopefully and will inevitably bubble over into how we treat other people, whether it's a decrease of road rage, or an increase of patience. And we're just a little more gentle with everyone. I think those are good qualities I need to add. Thank you, Jesus. And then this interplay between discipline, motivation, and inspiration. And again, for me, inspiration has been everything, but to be inspired is where ideas come from. To be disciplined is where the product comes from, right? And so I've had Tim Lee concepts for some time, but a part of me was convicted with language. And so, yeah, Tim Lee concepts, that's why I have so many ideas and so many journals and so many pads of paper with just notes on them, with nothing, right? So I started something called Tim Lee Creations, um, that I'm trying to be more intentional about creating and being creating and creative. And you may hear about that, in the future. Friends, this is very exciting to me. I thank you so much for tuning in. If you are enjoying this, please subscribe, please share. Let's go on this journey together. We will look up in a year and be in a very, very different place because of the work that we're putting in now. Subscribe to this video, like this channel, share this information, and let's continue to open up ourselves so we can go beyond the next level. Thank you so much.